it's not cut as high and dips as low in the back, but it's got a line here, okay, so it's got like a center panel that goes all the way to the sides. And then the shirt is in two parts. So the shirt is here, and then it's got like a long band, which gets stretched into it. So it's much narrower. So do you like the sleeve? See, no?
What is that?
Because you don't have to do the sleeve, but it's part of the, huh?
What do you call that sleeve?
Well, this is like a dolman sleeve. This part,
What's the difference between dolman and batwing?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking it was. Batwing.
Batwing.
Batwing, yeah, I was
Batwing
thinking.
is,
Is it like more?
I don't know, I guess a batwing is more of what is out there now, like really big.
Okay, just like more exaggerated.
Yeah.
Wish I had a Batwing shirt. Have one.
Okay, so, it's gathered into a band, but all this happens with the stretch. So the band is smaller than the width of the body of the shirt. And then, so I was sewing this, and it was so quick to make this. I was like, it's just not challenging enough. And the way they have it on we can do a little rolled hem, but with a two-way stretch, a rolled hem is really kind of tricky. So I just sewed a little band onto it to finish it, like a band on a t-shirt. And then my daughter has a lot of the shirts that have lower backs with little things attached to them. So I did that on this. So there's two backs on here. If you want to challenge yourself and do something that's a little bit different, you can do the back this way. That pattern actually has three going across. I just wanted to test it out and do two. So the back has a lower back with those. If you want to do that, do you guys want to do that?
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
I like
All the
that.
sophomores tried. Like a couple of sophomores tried it on for me yesterday, and it looked really good. So,
I feel
Okay.
like otherwise the back looks like the front somehow.
well, actually the back is really high, so the front does dip. So I'll show you that. I don't care if you do this. You don't have to. So guess how do we make these?
The same way we
The
did
little loop
the
turner.
drawstring.
Yeah, very good. All right, so, but yours
I
is
know,
going to
I
be a
hate
little bit
that.
different. This was like the first experiment. Let me put that up there. Okay, so I have 10 of these, so we're going to have to, oh wait, how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. Well, that's a short.
And those guys.
What? And then do the actual,
Those two did not push their nose as the shade.
master. All right, now this is not set up.
Oh, God.
It's not like you just put it down and band and pin it and cut it. No, this is just the way it was printed. So what you need to do is cut it out. Cut out all your, whoa, didn't want to do that. Cut out all your pattern pieces first. Pay attention to the grain line. Okay, if it says it's cut on the fold, then you automatically know your grain line, right? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing about this pattern too is to utilize the fabric in the most efficient manner. I didn't just fold it in half, so you had one long fold to deal with, because then I get like the front and the back, and then I wouldn't have enough to do the sleeve, because the sleeve would be incredibly big, as you can see. So, what I did was I just folded it. Oh, I'm not doing that. I don't just do that. Sorry, not thinking. I folded it in this way, okay? So it's like in or is that in thirds? It's half and then half to the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that, if I really wanted to save fabric, since this is gonna get cut out of the fold, I might even shift it over even further so that this sits here and my fold is there, which I I think I'll do, just so I have plenty of fabric, because why waste it? That's the whole point then. You recording all of this?
Yeah.
Okay, so front we need,
You're a
That-
little sassy today.
that's the lower back. So you don't do both, you decide, and if you just wanna have a high, simple back that gets finished with that little band, then do this one. But I'm gonna do, okay, another thing that I just want you to, I'm worried that some of you don't have like a real, anybody think that they don't actually have a two-way stretch? They got the wrong thing, or is everybody's stretch, you go like this, it stretches, you go like this, it
I
stretches?
got the wrong one.
Yeah, I know you do, but anybody else?
I think mine's
Okay, one, depends on like how much lycra or spandex is added to it, or what kind of knit you got. Some knits, there's gonna be more stretch, should be more stretch width-wise, right, than lengthwise, but maybe not, like I don't know what kind of a knit you have, so, for the band, it's a little ambiguous. Sorry, I should have done this before, but. I'll pick that stuff up later. When you cut the band, make sure that there's plenty of stretch. So if you're finding that there's more stretch going, this way, then you wanna make sure that you put it on your grain line this way. If there's more stretch going the other way, because you want the band's gonna have to stretch to fit, okay? This is based on a 6/8. If you want this whole thing to fit you and you're much smaller, then we'll make the band smaller. Like maybe measure, and that's against our dress form, so measure your hip and see, I think it was 36 inches. So if you are much smaller than 36, then let's make this smaller, because you want it to expand. Which reminds me, there's one thing we don't really talk about, ease. Do we ever talk about ease? We'll talk about ease a lot more with the shirt, but the button down. Ease is when one pattern piece is larger than another pattern piece, and something either has to expand a little bit to fit, or something has to like kind of be forced into a smaller space. It's called easing. Knits have built-in ease. It's like, there you go. Like you just, if something has to fit, it is cut smaller, you just stretch it. Also, knits, so lots of times knits are made to actually, it's called having negative ease. They're actually cut smaller than the actual measurement so that they will expand, so it'll be a snug fit. This is not that small, obviously. This is kind of an oversized garment. And the other thing that I like about this is if you're having a hard time, like when you did your samples, did you guys check to see if you could still spring back?
Yeah.
If it was a really tightly fitted garment with negative ease and you were really pushing it out to put it on a body, then if you weren't really successful with your sewing, you're gonna start popping seams. There's kind of a little bit of leeway, and, because nothing's super tight except for maybe this part, the cuff part of the sleeve and the band, so you should be okay. Oh, another thing, because I want these to look really good, we used to, I don't know if I did it here or at another school where I used to teach, one of the criteria that we would look at in your assessment was, is it market ready? Like, could I take your finished garment and put it in the store and have somebody, buy it? Does it look that good? And we don't really worry about that too much, but I would like you guys to start getting stuff made so perfectly that we could fool somebody into thinking that it wasn't just made by somebody up here. And the way to do that with knits is, one of the challenges that I find most people have is that if you straight stitch and then you serge, your serging gets all wonky, right? It's never like really consistent. And knits are hard to just begin with the serger, but I want you to practice beginning with the serger. The seam allowance in this, this is all very forgiving. So if we're a little bit more than a ½ inch or a little bit less than a ½ inch, it's not gonna kill the pattern because we've got all this built-in ease with the knit. But if you serge first and you don't take off too much and you're really consistent, that's why I say practice, because knits roll a lot, so you wanna make sure that you're keeping it flat. Then you can do like a 1/4 inch seam allowance, like practice and figure out like what would equal your ½ inch right up against your serge edge, and it will look like you didn't make it, which I want this to, or it'll just look really good. So we want the inside to look really good. And that's how we always made our garment, especially when we worked with knits. We would always serge first. So it's your seams are really consistent. Actually, I almost always serge first on most stuff. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna lay this whole thing out, but I'm gonna explain to you how to do it. Because if I can keep it for my afternoon class, and then I'll cut it, and then we'll demo it next week. So because I love to utilize my fabric, I would definitely, oh, and there's no nap. This is from the cardboard that was on, so I know that that's gonna wash out. I think I'm gonna bring this over, and knit, you really just wanna kind of lie it down, and you don't wanna force it, because then you're adding stretch where you don't really want to. So, but I do not do front, back. You have to do front, back, that way, okay? Because you need, I'll show you. So, I would fold that and cut that here, and then that's my back V. I'm gonna do, and then, okay, so on here, these are all notches. Make sure you cut all these notches because you're gonna need, this is for easing, so that the ease when you stretch, because this gets stretched to the sleeve, you want all this to look consistent. Otherwise, it's gonna be like really stretched in one place and not stretched in the other. This is to match up your side seams, right? This matches up with the back. And these little guys right here are for the 3 strips that go across. So you need those. This one, and then this is to match up your shoulder seam, again for the sleeve and again for the side seam. So I would open all that up to utilize your fabric the best that you can, okay? So that's number one. And then when you're done cutting that, and save, like you can get your 2 sleeves out of the middle because you'll have more. And then this one, cut on the fold, I'll take a piece and I'll fold it, okay? But do these first, and then save the small. You always do your larger pieces first. Did I ever tell you that? I should have told you that last semester. You always start with your larger pieces. And then because this is so damn big and wide, what you're gonna do is with your leftover, you're gonna fold it in half. And make sure everything, if there's no big heavy duty stretch on any of this, you want to make sure it lies nice and flat. And then that might be too short. And then you're gonna cut your 2 sleeves and go all the way to the end, so you've got all of this to use for whatever else you need. You're not gonna have tons of extra like on other patterns, so you have to really plan it carefully before you cut. So either start with this and then do your front and back, or do your front and back and then do this. But to get those 3 pieces first, and then fit in your other stuff. And that's all you have to do.